Hey guys, welcome back to Dave's Dimension. Welcome back again for another video. Welcome back to the channel where insanity and chaos reign supreme. So we're back again, and as you can see, we have a pack. This is the Benofkent pack that I've been working on, and I anticipated I would be working on this a lot longer than I had. I anticipated weeks away from getting this completed, but it's just about finished. I'm only missing two things, guys. I'm actually missing the ion arm end cap, but that's being shipped to me right now. Between the U.S. Postal Service and all the different carriers, carriers out there, everything's backlogged. I mean, something I was supposed to receive back on like a week and a half ago just came in today. Just everything's just bananas. But I'm waiting on the iron arm end cap, which is the metal part that goes here with the metal rod, the copper rod that comes down. And I'm also waiting on a metal V-hook that is screen style that I got off of eBay actually. But aside from everything else is pretty much done. The pack is all together now. I'm going to be throwing some video clips during this video, so you guys will see some of what I've done inside and outside the pack. And, well, we're going to get into that in just a few moments, but I wanted to show you guys a few things. Now, the labels, I applied the labels on here. These are not the stock labels from Benofkent. I have those, and I'm actually saving those for a rainy day if I ever need replacement labels or if I'm in a pinch. These are actually the Mac Factory labels. Mac Factory, if you're not familiar with them, they've been making labels for the Proton Packs. They do screen accurate labels. These aren't stickers. These are full quality. I mean, these are basically what you would find on the actual screen used packs. Some of them are made with aluminum. Some of them are made with a thicker stock. I don't know what the actual term is. It might be a urethane of some kind. But these will, I mean, you get some rain on here. These are not coming off, guys. These are good. Right up here, it has all the proper text. This is 100% screen accurate. In fact, the kit, here's the, when I say Mac Factory, that is the actual brand. They ship them in a nice little package like this. They ship it out like this. They even send you a manual, a little book explaining how to apply them, and if you already have stickers or you're replacing them, how to clean those surfaces so you can apply the new ones without any kind of conflicts. Okay, what's really great about these was they don't just give you one set of stickers, they give you a variance. In some cases it's one or two choices you can go with, or one of three choices. They have the GB1, which is the 84, GB2, which is 89, and of course they have a 2020 variant of one or two of these stickers. And it doesn't just come with a pack set, it comes with a set for a wand. So if I wanted to upgrade my Carnivorous Creations wands labels, I could actually do that right now. I'm not gonna, because I actually have a wand kit with the Benofkents that I'm going to be working on next. Okay, but I mean, these labels are just fantastic. Let's turn I have everything, including on the HGA. I mean, everything is 100% screen accurate, and these labels are amazing. Now, like I said, the pack is almost completely done. I just need the V-hook. I mean, I have the standard Dixie Cup V-hooks. I could throw that on there right now if I wanted, but I have an actual metallic aluminum machines one that I got on eBay, and I have the iron arm coming. Once those are attached, the pack is done. It's done right there. Now, just to go over a few things here. Okay, so we have, most of the parts are resin. Okay, all the parts are pretty much resin. I did splurge for the metal shock mounts right here. Now the color this is actually semi-gloss. I did, if you've seen previous videos, you know I went over some of the paints. I did a aluminum primer, the Rust-Oleum brand. I did silver also because I know over time and already there's been a few scuffs and scratches revealing the aluminum underneath. So that's why I did that. I did a black and I also did a semi-gloss. And I did actually go over this with a light. I only had about half a can of a bed liner spray. Should have got more, but I didn't. I had enough to cover the entire pack once. And that's fine. It has texture to it. You run your hand over the pack, you can feel the texture. It's not too much, and I don't think it's too little either. So we did everything. Now my lens, there is one little problem I have with the lens, due to the molding of inside the pack, and you'll see this when I go over it. The molding, if I had better rotary tools, a better Dremel, I could clean out the inside and get the lens perfectly flush. Right now, it's more at an angle slightly. Okay, like I said before in your previous videos, the imperfections, if it's not 100%, that's okay, because like people have said, and I've said it, they built the proton packs in a rundown firehouse with substandard conditions. So again, one of my teammates pointed out to me that I'm kind of invoking, I guess you could say, the spirit of Egon, so to speak, because I don't have a garage, I don't have a basement, I don't have the proper workspace. I did this, pretty much 95% of this here in, the Fortress of Geekitude here, my little dimension, my little, I live in an apartment with me and my wife have a 2-bedroom apartment, not much space. I'm sharing my desk here with my work computer because I have to remote from home. I mean, I have very limited space, and I was able to throw this together. Thanks to a bunch of Allen wrenches, screwdrivers, my Ryobi, and a bunch of bits, and some help from my friends, I was able to get this done. Now, I did go with a real clipboard right here. So this is a real clipboard. I have the ribbon. Now, on my previous packs, my spirits, I've not done very well with the ribbon cable. I think I actually did pretty well with it this time around. I used the stock hoses that came with the kit. The elbows, the leg rest, and the clipboard, the brass pieces, those I kind of had to get a little creative with, and you'll see that in one of the other videos. Basically, I couldn't get this to fit perfectly into these pieces. So what I did was, I actually took a little bit of solder spool, cut out some pieces, a little dab of hot glue to get on here, stuck one piece into the tube and then one piece into the elbow, let it harden, and it's in there good. It's not coming out. So I don't expect people to be tugging on them either, so I'm sure if you enough force you're going to rip it out. But got the tube here. Now I actually have my hands on black hot glue sticks. So with my hot glue gun, I threw a black hot glue stick in there. I actually did some dabs so this holds that hose in there perfectly. And on the inside, that's also what I did. Some people are not big fans of hot glue because hot enough temperatures they can soften and pull, but we're not expecting to have that happen here. Okay. Plus, I also did hot glue, black hot glue down here at the end filter at the bottom here, so it gives a full weld kind of a look to it. Now I am going to apply, I have some flat black paints, actual liquid paints, not spray paints, but liquid paints, and I'm going to apply that so it dulls down, it makes it look like an actual weld. So I'm going to do that later. I'm not planning to weather the pack because the pack's going to get its own weathering over time. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this around a little bit. By the way, this pack is heavy, guys. I mean, it's heavier than a spirit pack. Let's just put it that way. I mean, I'm not going to be killing my back, but it's definitely a little bit more heft to it. Now, here again, the pack came with some extra hose, split loom, so I cut that up, and I actually used a little dab of the black hot glue so that it blends perfectly onto the booster tubes, or the injector tubes right here. So everything is, these are not loose, they're held on there. And I did use the brass barbs, drilled them in perfectly, got them nice and tight into the injector tubes and down here into the assembly. Everything fits in there, but I didn't want the brass showing, so I just covered it with a little bit of loom. I have plenty extra now, so that's good. Now this is a two-piece clamp, so I have that. Everything is in here. I mean, you can pull on this and the ribbon's not coming out because I actually drilled right through the ribbon. So that turned out very good. Now, my booster tube here is not perfectly straight, or at least the front part, the ladder part, is not perfectly straight, but that's perfectly fine. The imperfections, they help out with this. Now, I was able to drill a hole into here, a little bit of some adhesive, some epoxy, so a little 5-minute epoxy. JB Weld's the way to go. That's what I say. And I got all the transistors in there. The elbow, I got the transistor on this side and transistor on the other side. These are real transistors. I went all out for this. Figured it's my first pack. I want everything to be amazing. I don't want to say amazing, but I wanted it to be as best as I could possibly do for my first attempt. Now, I did have some problems with the post here. That actually broke a couple times, but in a weird kind of way, I lost the screws, the bolts that were holding those on. I don't know where I misplaced them. I'm sure I'll find them at some point in time. So how are they holding in here nice and tight? I mean, I'm moving this and the whole pack is moving. Epoxy. I went with epoxy, a little bit at the bottom, and it holds this one and this one perfectly in. They're not going anywhere. So, now on the back side. Everything's in there nice and tight. I have, of course, the Mac factory label here. It's a much better texture. If you're a stickler for details, it's way smoother than any labels you can get. Now, a lot of times I will order labels off of Etsy. Okay, Mobi signs. I love Mobi signs for a lot of things, but for the pack, I just wanted to take it to a different level. Like I said, this is my first full-scale pack. I really wanted to go all out on it, and I did. I love Mobi signs. They're still my go-to for trap labels, vehicle labels. I mean, if you're on a budget and you can't go that extra mile, they're perfect. I love them. Okay, no, this is not paid advertisement. I love them for the trap labels, all the different decals that they make. I mean, they make some amazing stuff. But this time around, I went with the Mac factory. Now, guys probably can't see this down here, but you'll see it in the other clips that I'm going to put into this video. I have a charging port and a master power, or I can't say a master power switch, but a switch that allows me to turn the pack on without pulling out my thrower, leaving the Neutrona wand mounted, so I can turn the pack on, have the lights and sound going. Now, I also have a hole up here, right here. Don't know if you guys you can't see it, it's a little too far, but I have a hole right here where my finger is. That's so I can take this is the Allen wrench I use to remove the bolts from the pack, okay? I'm actually going to keep this with the pack because I can use this to trigger my main power, because I have a Talon Cell power kit in there. So I can turn that off, turn it on so it's not draining the battery, causing wear and tear, so the battery is sustained as long as possible. We don't want any power issues. You know, just if you charge up the battery and let it sit for days and days and days and then it's dead and then you're trying to charge it up again, we don't want that. So, I did use the stock mounts that came with Benofkent. Now, there is one problem I have here, and it has nothing to do with Benofkent's hardware. It has to do with the cheapness of materials when it comes to Rothko Alice frames. Nothing against Rothko themselves, it's a great company. But when it comes to a full-scale pack, there's a lot more weight to here. And if I lay this pack down, the top mount starts bending. Okay, it starts to kind of buckle. I mean, if I stand it up perfectly straight, it's nice and straight, but if I lay it down flat, it kind of buckles a little bit, gives it a little bit of flimsiness. That's not really great. So that's my one downside. I'm actually trying to go through different resources right now, trying to find an actual military grade Alice frame so I can put that on the pack, because that's really going to sustain it. Now for spirits, spirit packs are nice and light. Rothko is perfect for those. It's plenty strong for that. But when it comes to a full-scale pack, could this be a quality control issue? That's a possibility. Unless I get something to reinforce that upper beam. Now the bottom beam is perfectly fine. It's this upper portion here where the frame actually bends. That center beam is just very flimsy, guys. It's very flimsy. I mean, over time it's going to have some wear and tear, and I'm sure I'm going to have an issue. That's why I'm trying to find a military grade one. A lot of the Army surplus stores in the area, unfortunately, cannot get their hands on them because I guess the community as a whole has purchased those frames. So I'm trying to go through other sources. I've been looking on eBay, trying to find some Army surplus or someone who has the heavier duty one. Even if they are scratched up and banged up, I mean, I could repaint them and then throw it on the pack. So that will eventually happen. So let's turn this bad boy back around, and I'm definitely looking for a better guitar stand. But using the basic guitar stands like I use for the spirits, and this just fits on here, so I'm probably going to be getting a new stand of some kind. I don't know yet. So, like you heard me say, here's the power switch. Power cell cyclotron lights are nice and bright here. Right? Looks good. And I can turn it off as well. There we go. And just to show you, I have my KC wand that's rigged up to the pack. Now you saw that I turned on the pack on and off with the toggle switch. It's just your standard power toggle switch you'd get like at a hardware store or Walmart or something like that. So, turn it on. We're going to fire this off a little bit. And we're going to vent it. Oh, I got it on the wrong setting, guys. I'm sorry. There we go. So I have the vent light here. I have some bright lights in here, so it's a little hard to see that. So let me fix that very quickly, guys. There we go. Now, in person, it's a lot brighter than what's showing on the camera right now. So we're going to try one more time. There we go. Yeah, it's just not popping up on the camera. I apologize for that, guys. Let me turn the lights back on. Now, a moment ago, you heard me say I had it on the wrong mode. Because with the I have the GBFANS sound kit and light kit here. I have it set so that if you hit the toggle switch down, and no vent light, by the way, you're in video game mode. Hit the ear button. Now, if you're not familiar with video game mode, when you hit the ear button here, after the first weapon, you go into shotgun protocol, as I like to call it. It means you could fire and hold down the button. You only get one shot. I'm still holding the button down. Okay. We hit this again. Now I have a different pattern on the power cell. And you hear I got the slime blower rumbling in the background. Now I got the slime blower feature, just like in a video game. Hit that again. So I got the slime tether now. So hit it again. And we got the stasis. Don't want that. We'll hit it again. And of course you got your boson darts. So we got that. Now, on here, I actually got a flange, which has been featured on another video I did that I put on here. So it's got a nice little bit of a machined look here, but it's 3D printed. Love that. Now, the only downside with the Benofkent hardware is they give you nice new shiny bolts. That's perfectly fine. But of course, the pack looks a little off with those nice and shiny bolts. So I'm probably going to take maybe some brown ember or some other paints and do a little bit of rusting on those. Now, the pack itself, obviously, I don't have the V-hook there, but I have the charging port, so I can just plug my charger in there, my adapter into it, charge the pack up. I mean, this could not turn out any better, guys. Now, I will do a little update, or I'll feature the pack in a future video after I get the V-hook and the iron arm, so you guys can see the full detail. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a few of the clips so you can see some of the most recent clips of me building the pack. Okay? Okay, so here's a little update. I have the pack open right now, as you can see. Now, I drilled a hole here right by the power cell so I can turn it on or off using this Allen wrench. Now, this is the same size Allen wrench I'll use for taking the bolts on and off on a pack. So obviously this is going to be a tool I'm going to keep with the pack at all times. This way I'm not running down the battery, and also I'm not going to cause any kind of damage to the battery, just leaving it constantly on in a standby mode. So that's a nice little safety option. I can't take credit for that. This was actually a suggestion made by a couple of my teammates, and I can't thank them enough for it, because now, one, I'm not going to have to constantly charge my pack as often as I would just leaving it sitting around and letting the battery run down. It'll take several days for the battery to run down, maybe even a whole week, but this way I can turn it on, I can turn it off. That is the main power. So, and I'm going to give you guys a closer look here. So, I know this isn't the cleanest and most proficient way, but this is just how I set things up. I have a two-sided Velcro 3M strip holding the battery pack on. Now, I use standoffs that are commonly used in computers and circuit boards. Did a little bit of hot glue to hold them in place, and then I just did a little tiny bit of epoxy over that hot glue so that it'll stay on there. A little 5-minute 2-part epoxy JB Weld, way to go. I also did the same thing for the power cell here. Some standoffs, and the lights, they work perfectly. Now don't mind the yellow electrical tape here. That's the key, neither near nor there. That's the only kind of electrical tape I had at the time. I do want to clean this up, but for right now, I want to get this functional. I'm also going to be setting up my vent light to permanently go inside here. Of course, I have the speaker underneath the hardware. I have the reflectors for the cyclotrons. One of the lights isn't perfectly spot on, but for right now, this works magic. I also have a little aux cord that goes to a Bluetooth adapter on the other side of the pack on the outside, because honestly, there's no way for me to turn it on or turn it off. It's a push button, so I have to leave it on the outside, but it's going to be out of sight, out of mind. It's very small, and that way I can also charge that device separately. So that way I can play whatever music files or video files I want, so the sound will come out of the pack, and it will work simultaneously. I'll show you guys that in a little bit. So there we are. All the electronics are nice and buttoned up. You got this hole here, but you know what? I might even come up with a way to cover up that hole on the other side, but it's a nice functional spot. A nice basic hole. I can use the Allen key to turn the main power on or off, and of course I still have the power switch and charging port at the bottom of the pack. And of course I can still turn the pack on and off with the wand. So there we are. Hey guys, here we are. Now if you notice, at this point we almost have an entire pack. So after doing the silver primer, flat black, silver primer, and semi-gloss, and also I did the texture and then a semi-gloss on here, you can see I got a few scratches already. So, and a few specks because I had to do some modifications with resin, drilling into the resin, that is. So now I waited until after the paint to do the holes. I shouldn't have. In my opinion, I should have done that ahead of time, which would have saved a little frustration and headache. But I know that for the next go. Now, what I did was, just with some basic drills, went into the side. Now, I could have spaced them a little bit better. In fact, I would recommend spacing them a little bit better if anyone does their own pack. Now, I'm going to go over a few things here. So I did the BOK lenses in here. Now, if you notice, if you get really close, you can see I have some hot glue on the inside of it. The others is not so noticeable. Now, for some of these pieces, they fit perfectly in, some did not. For the ones that did not, I used either Gorilla Glue, or I used some 2-part epoxy. Gorilla Glue has their own brand. JB Weld is usually my go-to. Now, for these posts, I had an issue where this post was damaged and I had to patch it up again. And then, ironically, I lost the bolts for both this and this one. But if you notice, they are nice and solid and still in there. I actually used a little bit of epoxy, which kind of ran out a little bit, and you can kind of see some of it coming around the edge. I'm actually thinking of taking some black, like modeling paint, and just cover up that part where you see the epoxy kind of went out. I mean, over time, that'll dull and it'll be fine. I also went with epoxy to get this piece in there. Of course, I pre-drilled it and I painted it. Okay. Now, if you notice, now some people have used a pipe. Now, for me, I didn't have a pipe that came with this kit. So, for right now, I just have a hole that I ran the ribbon cable through and hot glued on the inside to hold it in place. I got the 2-piece ribbon clamp here. the holes are actually drilled right through, so it holds the ribbon in place. First, we have the resin bumper with the machined shock mount. Thanks to BOK. Thank you very much, guys. Very awesome work. Now, I have a real clipboard here. I got this one on GBFANS. This is a real one. For me, I just dremelled the bottom part out. Some people will actually drill a hole right through. But the screws themselves, I use the self-threading Milwaukee bits that were recommended to me by Justin Williams, one of my teammates. And it worked perfectly. I mean, this thing is not going anywhere. I mean, I'm moving this and the whole pack is moving. I mean, that's not going anywhere. Again, they did supply one metal pipe here. And what I did was I just used some hot glue on the inside and then some hot glue on the inside here around the hose. And it's in there, it's not going anywhere. Now I did cut the hose down because the hose was much longer. I didn't want it to come out and puff out too big. Of course, we got the clamps here now. Their hardware kit did not come with the washers. So if you get the BOK kit, and you notice there's not washers, I just got some basic washers from Ace Hardware to go with the cap head screws that came with this. Now I have my blue lens in here. Now, because of, if you notice, there's a slight angle. It's not perfectly straight. It's a more like at a slight steep angle. That has to do with the molding. This is a resin mold. I might try and Dremel some of that out, maybe try and cut some of it with some rotary tools. But right now the lens is in there pretty damn good. If I try and pop the lens out, I'm gonna damage the lens. I'll have to replace it. That's one thing I can do. But I mean, for right now, that lens is not going anywhere. It's just when you're at an angle, you can kind of see that it kind of tips in. Nothing's 100%, guys, and that's perfectly fine. So I got the leg rests in there. Now I still have to put the brass one up there. I have got all the transistor pieces. I still have yet to get this in here. I'm probably going to do that tonight. I'm just waiting for my drill to finish up. Got these nice little screws that come with it, so that should hold it in there. I also have the shorter one right here. And here's the brass piece I'm referring to with the barb. Because you're going to have the blue hose coming out of here, going into the transistor right here, and then the other end going into the brass barb at the top. And then the other side will have the shorter transistor with the yellow tube coming out of that leg rest into the transistor itself. I have a functional crank. Well, it rotates, that's the function. I don't have it set up into the soundboard yet. I do have a potentiometer on the inside. That's how it's able to move nice and freely. That is not wired up yet because I still need to learn how to solder to save my life. Now we have the other leg rest and the clip art up here. Now this is just a loom that they included with it. There's nothing on the inside. There doesn't have to be because that fits in there nice and perfect, guys. Now as far as the red tube that they gave me, I had trouble trying to get that to fit in. In fact, you can see a little bit of glue right there. I need to kind of pull that and shave that out. I'll take care of that a little bit later when I'm tidying everything up. Now what I did was I got a little creative. I had a spool of solder. I cut off a little piece, one that was about maybe yay long. Little dab of hot glue fits in here perfectly. The other end, little dab of hot glue, and I slid the red tube on it. And it's holding in there pretty good, guys. It's not going anywhere. And then I took a little dab of glue on those. I did the same thing, little piece of flux right there, little piece of solder, so that it would fit inside and stay inside. These are not going anywhere. And then I repeated the same process up to here. Now, in case you're wondering, why did I loop the red tube under the hose that goes into the gearbox? Well, I actually saw that. I think it's either Egon's or Venkman's pack. I've seen some high-res photos online, and I saw that, so I decided to go with that. I know on some of the Spirit kits, people have paired the red with this and use a little white zip tie to tie them together. At least at this point in time, I'm not going in that direction. I may decide to do that at a later time, but for right now, I'm going with this look. Now, if you notice, yes, I am missing a few things. My ion arm end cap that has the rod that goes down, I haven't received that. That's supposed to be coming in this week, but with the USPS and all the other delivery companies being delayed, I was supposed to receive it this past Saturday. It did not arrive yet, so I'm waiting on that. I'm also waiting on a machined or a metal machined V-hook, so I have a screen accurate V-hook for the wand to stow. And of course, I still have to put the labels on here. Now, what I did was, with my HGA, I did not do it screen accurate. Screen accurate would actually have it where this is right here. I wanted to give it a little bit of an alteration, to give it a little bit of originality, so I actually rotated it. Could I fix it? Yes, I could. Am I going to fix it? No, I kind of like how this is my own unique play on the whole thing. It may not be accurate, but it's how I'm feeling it. Now, as far as this was a separate piece, if you guys recall from the earlier videos. And what I did was, once I painted it, I just threw some epoxy on there, some 5-minute JB Weld epoxy, set it in there, because the screw was already in the right spot where it sits perfectly, at least in my eyes. And that sucker is not going anywhere, guys. So, now, it came with a Rothco Alice frame, which I'm not hating on Rothco. I got these stock spacers that came with this, and I apologize for the mess in the background, guys. But one downside to the Rothco is this. This metal, this center beam is a bit flimsy. If you lay the pack down flat, with this being the bottom, this will actually bend inwards, so this kind of, it not necessarily buckles, but it definitely bends inwards, giving it kind of a sketchy look, guys. I'm not crazy about that. Not too crazy about that at all, so I am looking for a metal Alice frame, which is a little bit harder to find because a lot of Army surpluses are not finding them. They're not able to get their hands on them because, well, a lot of people in the community have jumped on them like there's no tomorrow. So I'm hoping a few people will keep an eye out for me. I'm also trying all the stores I can. Now, I did a little full weld here with some black hot glue. I don't know how well you guys can actually see that. I might do a little bit more. You can see a little bit of it right here. It's not too noticeable. What I might do is I'm thinking of taking some flat black and just brush it along that. I've done that before on my Spirit. I do have the actual screen on the inside because I do have a vent light that I'm going to feed into here, so we'll have the vent light effect. I do not have a smoke kit in there. Not currently planning a smoke kit, at least with how I have the setup in here. But I'm perfectly fine with that. So this was part of the basic mold. This is not me. So I kind of left that as is. I might add a little extra, but I might not. Now, after I get the ion arm and the other pieces on here, the only thing that's left are the labels. Now, fortunately for the hoses here, I used the brass little barbs to hold the hoses in, but I didn't have this, so I came across a little tube of this, which worked out perfectly. I snipped a few pieces, and with some black hot glue, a little dab at the top, held it perfectly in place. Did that at the bottom. Actually, this one looks This one's a little, it's okay if it's 1/6 up a little higher than the other, because I actually drilled a little too close here. So, but that's perfectly fine, guys. So there she is. I'll see you guys in the next shot.